Bill Yates and his wife, Joan, lived in a modest apartment in the heart of the city. Both were 26, having tied the knot at 22 after a whirlwind romance that had engulfed them completely. They had recently marked their 4th wedding anniversary, a milestone that, on the surface, suggested a steady, affectionate marriage thriving despite the demands of their careers. Bill was tall and lean, just over 6 feet, with thick, wavy light brown hair that seemed to resist any attempt at taming. Joan stood 5'6", her frame softer and curvier than some. Yet her presence was always noticed. Her light brown hair framed a face that carried an enduring innocence. The kind of girl next door look that hinted at a childhood spent freely among neighborhood boys, yet always slightly set apart. Bill worked as a plumber, a profession both essential and well compensated in their town. Even minor blockages seemed to require his expertise, and his reputation for dependable, skillful work ensured that their finances were steady. Joan, meanwhile, had just completed law school and secured a position at a respected mid-sized firm. Her salary was solid and respectable, though still modest compared to Bill's steady income. From the outside, their marriage seemed enviable. Their hectic schedules left little spare time, but they made room for each other. Intimate, passionate, sometimes tender, sometimes wild. Joan had known a few romances before Bill, but his past had been far more colorful. Women had always been drawn to him, yet the moment he met Joan, she consumed his attention entirely. Their story had begun at 21 in the dim, throbbing lights of a crowded club. By the following year, they were exchanging vows, certain they had found forever. Both came from large families and shared a desire to build their own. Joan was focused on her career, aware that early pregnancy might clash with her firm's expectations, but she made her priorities clear at home. They had a plan. Save diligently, Joan would stop taking birth control, and by the new year, they'd move west, settle down, and attempt to start a family. Bill, confident in his trade, believed he could find work anywhere. Their future seemed carefully plotted, and they were ready to embrace it. Yet as months passed, doubts began to gnaw at Joan. The weight of a decision that could never be reversed unsettled her. Even more troubling, someone at her firm stirred feelings she hadn't anticipated. Jake Batty, 36, tall and magnetic, worked as a recruiter in the firm's central office. His charisma was effortless, and people naturally gravitated toward him. Joan was no exception. She enjoyed his company but loved Bill, and when Jake's visits became more frequent, she drew a clear boundary. She was married and unavailable. Jake, however, was persistent. His gaze lingered, his comments flirted dangerously close to inappropriate, and eventually, he invited her to lunch. When they parted, he startled her with a quick, unexpected kiss. It was brief but left her shaken, ashamed, confused, and inexplicably stirred. She didn't understand why she allowed it to happen, nor why it ignited something deep within her. She was far from naive, yet she felt caught in an emotional crossfire she hadn't anticipated. Joan understood the danger that path held, and how easily it could tempt her. Jake was charismatic, worldly, and confident, yet he would be gone in just 2 weeks, returning to the main office 1,000 miles away. Bill noticed a subtle change in her. Joan seemed distant, her eyes often clouded with distraction, her usual warmth tinged with a faraway quality. When he asked if something was wrong, she brushed it off, just stress at work, nothing more. Jake, sensing the tension and the spark between them, made one last proposition. A weekend getaway at a lakeside resort, 3 days together, no strings, no future, just indulgence, and then closure. Joan's first instinct was refusal. She would never betray Bill. She would not lie. And yet, the thought of entertaining such an idea, keeping it secret from him, left her with a gnawing guilt. Jake offered an alternative. Tell him, he suggested casually. Ask him. Frame it as one final adventure before you settle into parenthood. If he loves you, he might even say yes. That night, as Joan and Bill lay wrapped in each other's arms, the familiar rhythm of intimacy around them, her thoughts strayed elsewhere. Even in his embrace, she couldn't shake Jake's image from her mind. When their time together ended, she pressed close to Bill and whispered affectionately. He murmured a soft response. But then Joan drew a shaky breath and shattered the fragile peace. I met someone at work, she confessed carefully. sensing his body stiffen beneath her touch. She explained that Jake, from the central office, was only in town temporarily and had invited her away for a weekend before he left. She rushed to clarify that she would never actually cheat, never betray him, but she wondered if, just once, he might allow it before they started their family. Bill froze. Slowly he sat up, searching her face for a hint of jest. There was none. Pain flashed across his features, sharp and raw, before hardening into something unreadable. Without a word he rose, walked to the bathroom, and locked the door behind him. Joan pressed against it, muffled sobs barely audible over the sound of running water. Inside, Bill stood under the hot shower, letting the water pour over him as if it could cleanse the wound she had inflicted on his soul. Joan had been his anchor, his everything. And now all that remained was a sense of irreparable loss. He moved mechanically when he emerged, drying off, brushing his teeth, packing a small bag with essentials. Joan ran after him, begging, crying, swearing she wouldn't go through with it. But his silence weighed more heavily than any words could. He dressed quickly, slung the bag over his shoulder, and left. The door slammed behind him. The night air stung as he flagged down a cab. By midnight, he had rented a car and was driving west, ignoring the constant buzzing of his phone until he powered it off. Hours later, he checked into a roadside motel, collapsed, and finally slept. By morning, clarity had returned. Over coffee at a diner, his gaze drifted to the classifieds. A plumbing firm in Mountain City needed workers. He made the call, removed his phone battery, and purchased a burner phone at a convenience store. By noon, he had secured the job and moved into a small rented room. He emailed his parents, brief, firm, deliberate. He had left Joan. They were to handle his finances. He wanted no contact with her. Days passed, but curiosity gnawed at him. He asked a friend to keep an eye on Joan. Soon the updates arrived. Emails from her. First apologetic, then pleading, then furious. Went unread, deleted without hesitation. His friend reported more. Joan had turned to Jake. Photos appeared of the two of them together at the lakeside resort. Bill felt nothing. The choice had been made. He filed for divorce, consulted a lawyer, and even initiated legal action against Joan's firm. Time moved on. Joan attempted to reach his family, insisting she had never actually betrayed him. But to Bill, asking permission had already been a betrayal. His silence became the sharpest punishment. Bill rebuilt his life. His new job paid well. He dated casually, though trust came slowly. Meanwhile, Joan's world crumbled. Jake's marriage ended, his career faltered, and she drifted, living in a small rented room near her office, haunted by what she had lost. A year later, Bill's friend delivered the final blow. An envelope slipped onto Joan's desk at work, containing photos of her weekend with Jake and notice of the lawsuit. She signed the divorce papers without contest. The settlement amounted to $17,500. Jake's reputation lay in ruins. And Joan, she was left alone, sitting in silence, surrounded by the remnants of a life she could no longer claim.